Let's go ahead and get started with roll call. We'll start with front row. Chris Thompson, Lynn. Here. Ruth Ann.
Here.
Cody. Here. Chris Squire. Here. And Lynn Bagley. Here. All right, we're all here tonight. Let's just jump right into it and start out with our minutes, review our minutes from our last meeting. I didn't see anything. Did anyone see any?
Comments, sorry. On the camera, I don't have it pulled up, but on the Chris recommendation, so I recommended that the city help cover the cost of the sidewalk. And that they contact the, try the faith, interfaith.
Okay, on which is you, I'm trying to jump around here.
Here's Chris.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay,
Okay, on the master plan.
okay, and that's not referring to that suggestion at all?
So
Okay,
Chris
suggested-
suggested talking with the Interfaith Council about helping with required sidewalk.
Uh-huh.
So I recommend that the city, that they look at the city helping with the cost of the sidewalk and the asphalt. And the Interfaith could help with other things, but they more with labor and stuff
Oh,
like that.
I missed that entirely.
That's all right. So if we just,
So you suggested talking with the interfaith council to.
yeah, Interfaith Council specifically said that they didn't want to have to pay for stuff. They're just more labor and stuff like that.
So did you talk about in the meeting about having the city help?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay.
we did.
I would just change that from interfaith to city. And then if we do a new set, the interfaith can help with labor. Yeah.
Okay,
I could see maybe a proofreading error.
just a second. Which, Jack?
One place it says April 1, one place it says April 12.
Where is that?
Just on the minutes.
On the name, the,
Well, page 1 says April 1, page 2 says April 12.
okay, I already have it correct.
Okay, any other things anybody noticed?
Not your turn, but just get it.
Okay,
You're after the hearing.
if not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
So moved.
Motion by Lynn,
Second.
second by Ren, all in favor?
I
Okay. Now we have a public hearing. Tonight we're gonna do them the way we've done them, but we need to discuss some other things later on what we need to do in the future. Let's go ahead and discuss, find out about this Silver Hills subdivision. Bart, you presenting or which one?
I am.
Okay. Go ahead and.
Good.
Yep.
Can we send it here?
I guess.
That's
So-
where the bullets go.
Oh, yeah. Right here. So we own that subdivision on Second North by the Blue Apartments, and we'd like to rezone it to professional office from a residential zoning. Okay, an R1, R16.
That's west of the Blue Apartments.
Yes.
Yes. The empty.
But they can.
But they get, we
Vacant.
patch that's been that way for a long time.
It's a vacant property. There is one house, I believe, that was constructed. If you look up here on the top left-hand corner, I think, then you put a house in there about 8-9 years ago.
Yeah.
So there is one house that actually is fronted on 200 North, so there's already one home that's built there on that particular lot. I think it's.
So what would go on it?
019.
You know where you're talking about then?
Sir?
Do you know
I'm
where?
just trying to find it on the map. I can't get it in my head.
If you go up Second North, and it's straight across from the golf course,
Here's the,
let me close that. Here's the DMV.
The Drew's a chance to close the
Right here.
Yeah.
This is Neola, this is
Right.
South Cove, it's this vacant.
Okay, but it's always been these. huh?
Yeah, the blue apartments are right here.
Okay,
It's right next to Dawn's, on the Dawn list.
okay.
Not everyone knows where I live.
You'd be glad to
I'll
get
keep
rid
it
of
that way.
these.
What are you gonna put in?
So we have just had, over the years, we've tried to develop it a few times and have had not successful encounters with Roosevelt City and other entities. We have had a few offers of people that would like to buy a piece of it for a dentist office or a physical therapy office or like an assisted living center. So we're just trying to open up our options to be able to develop that instead of having it be a weed patch. And we also like to ask, I don't know if we ask zoning or if we need to talk to city council about possibly doing it in phases and finishing the infrastructure and the road and stuff for the first road in, and then being able to do the second half.
So when you say the first road into the first, where the first turnoff is,
Right.
so that would be about,
150.
Yeah, that's.
I have a question. What is that zone for right now?
Just homes,
Just homes?
just
So-
You want to put in offices?
like quiet offices, like a dentist office or a physical therapy office, or maybe an eye doctor, or maybe an assisted living center.
We'll get to, we haven't opened our public hearing yet, and we'll get to all that in a minute. We're just discussing prior to opening our public hearing. Do
So.
we have any other questions for the Millers on that? Before we go in our public hearing?
Maybe just a note, it's 1-6 right now. She mentioned a nursing center, whether it's a PONR or a 1-6, a nursing center would be conditional use.
Right, so we would have to, if we decide to go that route, we would have to find that.
But the PONR, I mean, he brought a GIS, we didn't do the zoning map, but POR is actually the other side of the
Yeah,
road
it's
right
right
there.
across the street
It's
from it.
PONR on the other side of the
Yeah,
property
north-
right
north
now
side
at
of
the moment, so.
Okay,
So yeah, it touches right up next to several different zoning
so
areas.
now I consider ourselves in public hearing. This time, you can have a seat, and we will see if anyone in the public had any questions or comments about this zone change.
Would you ask them to speak for me?
And they need to state their name when they come up.
Okay, if you want to make a comment, it's your turn.
Is there
Say-
any way to get
Hop up here and state your name.
Barry Thompson? I live right 2 houses away from that area. And I'd like to see the, what they had planned. You had it, pulled it up earlier. Just to see what, they have planned to do with that. Yeah, that. Is there any way to get a copy of that?
So that's a plat that's been filed with the county.
That's what it is right now. Right now it's divided into 18 small individual residential building lots.
Okay, that's what it is now.
That's
Yeah,
what it is now.
this was
So
approved in,
what, do you have something that shows what you have planned?
We have a plan and we have to get it rezoned first.
Right.
We would put the expense into replatting it and surveying it if it wasn't rezoned. So it would combine maybe 3 or 4 lots and put a dentist office on it. Does that make sense?
Like up here on the left-hand side, we would combine, or on the right-hand side, sorry, combine maybe 3 lots and put a dentist office or an eye doctor office on that. Then we'd come down and combine maybe 4 or 5 lots. We do realize in this back corner, down by at the bottom, some of those lots are too small to count as a professional. You have to have 7,000 square feet, I believe.
Correct.
That's right.
There's 3 lots right at the bottom.
So those
there.
3, if you can scroll just a little
There's
bit.
3 lots. There's 6,000 something, but they're short of 7,000.
There's the one that's off about 7 feet, square feet off.
Yeah. Yeah.
So their plan, if they sold them, would be to combine 3.
Basically, we would combine that, probably the whole, it would be the entire east side, of that would be professional, and then we would keep the west side as residential.
And how many residential?
So right
houses
now,
are there?
there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8
And how many of those lots be?
There's the one house that faces second north that's there, they're all that same size.
So there's only 7 lots.
And then what's the, can't say the dimensions, what is the,
They're like 116 feet-ish by 64.
No, they're smaller than that.
Most of those lots, if you look at them, they're 7,000 plus, like 7,200 square feet. Yeah. Most of those lots, if you get it
So
close
did
to
you
it.
tie
can read
into the
square footage of
existing
the lots.
streets, like 150 north?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
if you can go back on the aerial view, you can see where the dirt goes through. That's where the streets are basically supposed to be.
they're 64 by 110, 113.
60 by 104.
The back lot line.
On that plat that was just out there,
Looking here.
this road comes through and it goes and it
64.
connects to this road and then it goes out.
You have to look down here.
So yes, these streets would finish. So you could go from second north
What is
up
that?
clear through to like.
Yeah. And then.
Well,
that's because that's.
Yeah, they do it
usually where the
I go around it, what we were trying to do.
Okay, why is there, show me what that area would be commercial.
So right here next to the blue apartments, this side would be commercial, possibly.
Professional.
Professional. Right, professional,
Slash residential.
which,
Yeah.
so the rezoning we're trying to do would be either homes or professional, like a dentist
Attorney's
office, an
office.
eye doctor, a physical therapy office, those type of businesses.
So Barry, we have areas in the city that are already professional office. So you have some of the,
Oh, right across from the
Right
blue
here.
apartments.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
Across
all,
from
is that what it is?
Where the DMV is,
Right across from.
like that, like the insurance, the homes that are right here that sell insurance, that's the same idea.
same thing. So it can be really as it gets developed, depending on who buys what, it could be every other one could have a home.
So what are you wanting to rezone, just the
Just
No.
to,
east side?
We'll rezone the entire thing because with professional, you can still do residential.
yeah, so it'd be rezoned.
We're just trying to get ourselves a few options.
Yeah.
To clean it up a little bit, because just for us to do residential, we're gonna be like almost $500,000 in infrastructure and asphalt and curb and gutter before we ever even dig a hole to put a house in.
So what's the difference between professional and commercial?
So commercial is like Walmart or a restaurant or something that's busy and noisy and you have to have a lot of parking, right?
A professional offices would have the same parking depending on it. Professional officer, insurance offices, dentist offices, smaller offices, they don't do mercantile sales. They're smaller, client-based, operations.
So they couldn't put in another Mexican restaurant or pizza place?
No.
We need more of them in Roosevelt.
Correct, it'd be professional office.
Okay, thank you.
You shot your dream down the pizza place.
So at the end, you might not have made a decision, are you in favor or not in favor?
I haven't yet.
Okay.
To be determined.
Have anyone else from the public that has any other comments or questions?
Let me look out here, I saw one gentleman I didn't recognize.
Are you here for the public hearing?
Good morning. Okay, good, I'm glad you're listening, so it's your turn to talk. Only if you like. Well, only if you came to make comments.
No, I just want to see what was going on.
All right.
I want that piece behind the house there eventually.
We've been gonna come to your house and tell you what we're trying to do. We haven't got a hold of you. I have your card sitting on my desk.
So you're the one in the home on the corner.
Correct.
So
And the last one on
Now,
that.
he's in that lot I showed you at 019.
Facing 200?
Facing 200.
Right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Murray's old home.
Yes.
Oh, you got
That's a nice little home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you would just.
They're putting a gravel pit right there.
If you want to make.
Could you pull up the zoning map?
We're almost putting goats there. I'm not really sure. You like that one?
Corey's already got his.
Oh, yeah. Pass it around.
I'm disconnected.
I actually had two houses on, you know, exactly 75, there was one, because I had to search, but
Yeah, long as you want to sit down.
Did I say the county? No, it's under, planning and zoning.
Under the board.
Oh, do you use it? That's what they have.
Okay.
I can bring it to them.
Yeah, we want the zoning map real quick.
I was gonna wait until the part.
Just highlight.
I just, I think we pull that up. So I thought it was fine.
Yeah. So as they're pulling up, since we don't have any more comments from the public, at this time I consider ourselves out of public hearing. And at this time, anybody from the board like to have questions or discussion on this?
I just want to look at the zoning map to see this piece we're talking about in reference to other areas that are zoned the same.
Okay. I have the same feelings as Corey. I'm for the project. I think it's be a great addition to the area.
Yeah, right here. This is what I wanted to look at.
I was, the non-conforming lots, I was concerned about that. So I called Mike Hyde to talk to him to see what his thoughts were, because I did the same thing. I did the zoning change in Orem. I shut down because I had a non-conforming lot. And Mike Hyde said it's okay, that his recommendation would be to approve it, even though there's 4 lots that are non-conforming. I don't know if we still, Corey's thunder, we always have the same ideas. I also talked to him about,
That's good. I've been called all kinds of things.
I called you a few of them too. And you were playing.
Yeah, I have been, yeah.
So, my thoughts is so basically what's happening is this section is gonna go the same color as this. And so there is a tie, but there's these houses right now, and they're currently zoned R16 as well. And they're in the shape that if someone wanted to come in and wanted to make something bigger, I think it makes sense including those into the zoning change. I talked to Mike Hyde about what his thoughts were. He said that normally in something like this, he would have had the city staff approach those residents about seeing if they are interested in changing the zoning of that as well. I think right now it's R1, so they don't really fit in the zoning they're in. And I think that if they're falling apart, so they're R1 or R1.
That's all R16.
Are those all owned by one owner?
Yeah.
The blue apartments?
Oh, there's 3.
3 lots are one, and the next 3 lots
Annette, who owns them?
are another.
I thought Jane Pan owned them.
Yeah, the lady that owns the Finstar. Yeah.
It's 3, the first 3 are under the one name, the next 3 lots
I think it makes
are
sense.
under another,
It
the
makes sense.
next 3 under another. But the second and third set are similar names, so I'm sure they're tied together.
They're super
So
dilapidated.
you can look at who owns
Okay.
them.
I'm sorry.
There's Jane Pan and Billy Tan.
Yeah, Billy Tan owns the top 3.
Oh.
So, Mayor,
Dean, on the lot size for the professional residential, what is the standard? Because on an R16, it's 6,000 square feet. So what is it?
7,000.
And all of these lots, but 3 in the bottom corner are 7,000.
And then there's one up in the top that's not.
Then they've got to be
There's
72
4 lots that are.
by 45 foot.
I didn't see the one.
The other one's only off by like 7 square feet. It's in the upper, I want to say it's, this lot right here.
And we can go back and do the white map, but almost
But
all of
it doesn't-
them, they're committed, if it goes beyond our number 1, any lots that are sold would be 7,000, and I wouldn't allow a building permit on it if it was.
Okay. I was just double checking to make sure that
What's
all the
that?
other lots would fit within that same.
I said we would require the lots to be 7,000 when they build on.
Before we
And
got
that, because they committed that, like to say on those bottom 2, they would make 3 into 2. That one might be a problem.
Like a road shack.
Everyone has different feelings, so you have a lot of different interpretations. Mike Hyde's opinion was is that it would be grandfathered in, and that they could still build on one of those lots.
If it's only separate.
So everybody has different interpretations.
Something in there.
The biggest thing they were after is a zone change, so that they could decide how they were gonna proceed.
So the problem about including those other lots, I think would be a better plan for the future. Talking to Mike Hyde about the process, is he said that if we change those, that he would recommend that we actually come to planning and zoning again. So it would delay the time in order for you guys to get the zoning change in place.
And then
That's up to you guys,
vote.
because that has nothing to do with us.
You aren't worried about
I
time?
agree.
If you-
Well, that's what happened to us last time. We came here and wanted to rezone and build some duplexes. And Roosevelt City, the first time we met, they're like, absolutely, that's fantastic, let's go for it. Then they had the public hearing, and the public came in and started complaining about snow plows and broken water lines and all this stuff that had zero to do with our property and our projects. And they shut us down because there were so many people from the public who were upset.
They even went into closed session
Yeah,
because it
So,
was getting hostile.
we
We're
just-
sitting over here going, this has nothing to do.
that's not ours, and if you want to rezone it, knock yourself out. But that has nothing to do with us,
So you guys don't want to delay, you want to get past tonight.
if we could.
Well, and I would concur, this is their property. We do have it adjoining right there to where, you know, it's not a spot zone necessarily, but it's their property they're concerned with, and nobody else was interested in doing this, and I didn't approach it, and I didn't think about approaching it because nobody expressed a concern. But they got notices that this meeting is here, so if they were interested, they could have contacted us. So everybody within the zone got letters.
Yeah.
What was going on.
Mayor?
I would just make the suggestion, there's no problem with approving this tonight and then still following through with the other property owners and trying to get that piece in there. That's what I would personally say.
And I think that's great, and if they want to rezone it,
Yeah.
and they're probably not in a hurry, they're not gonna tear down the apartments.
It'll make the property more valuable. If they were to sell a couple of those apartments and want to do the same thing,
Yeah.
they would have that option as well.
Yeah.
So,
That was
Makes
kind of the
sense.
consensus when we redid up here, this other side of State Street, is a lot of the property owners realize that it gives them another option to sell.
Right.
And so there wasn't really a downside to the POR, there was more upside for the property owners.
That does make sense to do that, I just don't think it should be on our timeline.
So are we ready for a motion or?
I think we are, unless anybody has any other concerns.
I move approval.
Okay,
Can I make an amendment to that?
Sure.
I amend that we approve it, the city contact those property owners to see if they'd like to be added into the zone change.
okay.
But they have to do that at their own cost.
So which property owners?
Just those.
The blue
nine-
apartments.
Just those 9 apartments.
Just the blue apartments, just so there's not a strip of R16.
But so like, we had to pay to send letters out and everything, are you piggybacking them on our zoning?
it'd be a
So they'll give us
separate-
half the cut? What's that?
So they'll pay half of that back?
I think it'd be considered separate.
That's what I would think, they would have to come in and.
I think, yeah, there would be,
I think if you contacted them and offered them the option, that's a great idea for that to all be that, but I really don't think it has anything to do with us.
okay.
So are we saying one issue or two issues?
We have one issue,
So your recommendation was before it goes to council, but so we want them to
No,
come in?
not before it goes to council. My recommendation
They
is
said,
that we approve this how it is,
okay.
but then we also follow up.
Yeah, it'd be a separate-
You're saying two issues.
independent, so we have two separate things.
That's my motion.
Yeah, we don't have a motion for that,
I'll remove my amendment.
Okay.
okay?
So I second
So
Lynn's.
we have a motion to approve from Lynn and a second from Cody. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay,
Okay, so just a note, when this goes to council, we'll have to be in June, because we'll have to have time to advertise it, because we didn't advertise it because we weren't sure what the results were gonna be, so we weren't gonna get on the newspaper and that, so when it goes to council, it'll be in June, it won't be this month,
Well, let's
so
see.
everybody's aware.
Yeah, because it has to be advertised for 10 days on the zone
I
change.
think that's doing twice, doesn't it, Carolyn?
2 weeks.
Yeah.
2 weeks. Well,
And then,
working
because of what our paper publishes, we have to get it to them 3 weeks before.
We're 2 weeks away from our council meeting, so we're fairly gonna miss that.
so it'd be,
I'm gonna read that again. I'll go get my book.
we'll get that squared away, but for now, you're approved from us.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
And we can let you know,
Okay,
maybe check with Carolyn tomorrow,
okay,
but maybe it'll come in June before the council.
Sounds great. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
You gentlemen are welcome to stay or.
Okay.
My dad.
GR11, he's supposed to be on the agenda.
Yeah, we'll wait for a minute for the mayor to come back.
We could change the order if you wanted.
Yeah, we could skip, let's go ahead and let's do Kirby's. Where's Kirby at? He's right up there. Here's the mayor back.
Well, and I'm just looking at, are we doing this?
Well, yeah, we're ready for that one if you're ready. Or we can skip and go to Kirby real
Go
quick.
ahead, Kirby, you are, yeah.
Let's go ahead and do Kirby. He's here for a lot line adjustment, which was, tell us all about it, Kirby.
Well, it's kind of just in the lot line. But it's with my neighbor, Stephen Mitchell. Yeah, trying to get the lot lines straighter. I have some landscaping over the line, and so she's kind enough to work with me on this and get it straightened up, per se.
I'd like to just visit about that just a minute. I have some pictures, and
Let's see.
you know, there was a point, and I'm not exactly sure where the actual corner is, but I'm going to pass these around and you can look. And then we met, and the problem with Sheila's lot is you can see that it's big in total square footage, but it's kind of a different shape coming around there. And so when you set a house back 30 feet, the problem is that that where his landscaping is and so forth. I mean, if you took it from his landscaping, you said that was his property. I mean, his house is 80 feet. And if you took it from where he has his landscaping on her big lot, big golf course lot, right there borders the golf course, on that lot, she could build a 50-foot wide house. And we looked, and even if she had it to her original line, she could only build a 70-foot house. And he's built, he's onto her property some, and he's been good to work with. But we went up there, and I was there. She was my sister-in-law, and I was there. And she agreed to move it to a point, and then they called her and told her the plat was ready, and she went and signed it. And then she went and looked at the point, and the point isn't exactly where she said. And I'm going to pass this along so you can see and what was agreed, and you can look and see what was agreed. And the actual, yeah, they're all the same. The actual lot line, the actual corner isn't. I don't know if that's actual, but somewhere in that neighborhood. And then the corner she agreed to was the corner of that back end of that sidewalk, and she felt bad that now it's moved another 15 inches, over, which cuts this. It just keeps cutting the size of the house you can build on this lot down. And she called and objected with the surveyor, and and she had a letter all written, was going to come in and object to this, and then said, I just feel like I'm just having to be mean. And she's been through a lot. Her husband died and left her in kind of a mess. I mean, everything he had, everything they had together, their whole marriage was in his name. Not a one thing was in her name. And she's had to go through, and I've been working with her for some time, trying to get things straightened out. And this lot is the key to her retirement, is to sell this golf course lot and to get its market value. And so, when she loses any size of it, so I don't know. She would prefer that it was back to that corner, but I don't know. I wish Troy was here to explain why it wasn't. But But, you know, it ended up being 15 inches, you know. I mean, she's not charging him. She's given it up just to be nice, and, she gave him some, and now feels like she's being pressured to give more, and, just, you know, I don't know. She didn't want to come tonight. She just said I could speak for her. That's kind of where it is. Did you see this?
What's your thoughts on that, Kirby?
Well, like I said, Troy had marked it. I wasn't there to go when he marked it, but it was on the back corner, so I just.
I was what agreed, and Troy was there when we all agreed to that.
And so it is approximately, I don't know, 50 inches, but I believe Lynn. And so he had contacted Sheila, and Sheila talked to him, and he said, did you want to look at that and then go over it and see if you want to, see if we move it a little bit, or what do you want to do?
She just felt like,
Yeah.
it's just like I'm always, you know,
Sheila, the one,
Sheila Mitchell.
Yes,
the other property owner here.
yeah.
She owns the lot.
Yeah.
Sheila owned it. Gil died.
Mhm.
Left Sheila with it.
And so at that point, Troy just had texted me and said just recently, yesterday, I believe it was, that she was okay with it, gonna leave it where it's at. And that's all I know. I haven't talked to anybody since.
She had a letter and was coming to deliver it. Got a couple of blocks away and said, I just feel like I'm just, you know, I mean, she feels bad that she's caused this whole thing, but Kirby's landscaping and his sprinklers and his trees and everything are, you know, are 15 feet over onto Sheila's property.
If she didn't feel comfortable with Kirby, how would you feel about it?
Well, I actually went and talked to her before this, the 15 inches, whatever, and I said, if that's where you want it and if it can be done, I'm okay with it.
So she just wants to move it back 15 inches?
Yeah.
Well, she would like it to go from this corner of the sidewalk to the back, where the back corner is now. So all we're doing is we're taking the back corner, you can see down on the very bottom, and we're just moving it. Right there. That's always gonna stay the same. The back, well, I don't think it's changing, but the front, she's given up, you know, footage on the front.
So which way are we, is that an angle? That's what it is.
Well, the property, the city right of way goes up about 2 feet behind the property. And so,
Yeah, and I think that's why it's surveyed from the center of the cul-de-sac. I'm not a surveyor, so.
And I don't know whether maybe that's because, I don't know, did it from the center of the cul-de-sac, but her idea was that that lot line was going to come across this corner, that back corner of that sidewalk, and she was gonna give that much to him. But to keep the rest, to protect it, so she had hopefully at least a high 60s to a 70-foot front, width that a house could be built on there. I mean, you're talking about, the house just across the street just sold, or the lot just across the street just sold, where Brett Huber built for $50,000 or $55,000. And she'd like to get that much out of it, but if she has a 50-foot house, you can't, 50-foot wide, you can't get that out of it.
so my guess is what happened is this is still the right of way. And so the city right of way goes back to here. And so he just extended perpendicular from that point out to there, where she wanted to go with a straight line.
She wanted, the idea for her was that point was on the line, the back point, and we come across that point, and that would be the property line.
Can I have a couple questions. And, so if I have a piece of property that joins somebody else's and I have somebody come do a survey and then get on planning and zoning to get the boundary line moved, can I do that without the other property owner's consent?
So you can't, from my understanding.
But she signed that
Did
plat.
she sign the Mylar?
She signed it. She understood when she signed it that it went across this side, this point on the sidewalk. And then because he called her and said, we've got it done as was agreed.
Ended up not being what she.
And then she went over there after she signed it and looked, and his marker is 15 inches from the.
The only reason I ask is, for added protection, it might not be a bad idea, and in here, it might not apply. Me personally, and I'm not taking any sides here. If I was Sheila, I would have charged for the piece that I already gave him because it does lose value, and so I would have recouped that selling it when the first lot line adjustment was made. The second, it might not hurt to have a purchase contract or something like that signed by both parties when they come to do a boundary line adjustment or something like that. I guess if she signed it, that takes care of that, but the purchase contract also shows that both parties are willing to.
Well, the verbal agreement was that it go across this point on the back corner of the sidewalk. That was the lot line would be from the back corner across that point. That was what was agreed. Kirby was there, Troy was there, Sheila was there, I was there in my vehicle and heard the agreement. And she said, I will give you all of that property up to that point. And what you have to do is pay the remainder of the survey cost. I paid half of it, you pay the rest.
Yeah.
And I'm giving it to you.
Yeah.
You know, and,
Are they one?
but now she, you know, I mean, she just feels like I'm just a complainer. I'm just causing trouble with everybody when she objects now to this mark there that's there that doesn't.
To me, it sounds like she was told one thing, had her sign it, and then she physically found out it wasn't what she expected.
Well,
And
the
so
average,
She would contest her signature basically on that.
She wouldn't have signed it had she known.
Yeah.
That's where,
and the average person isn't gonna stand there and read a survey.
well, and then
She's going to assume this is what we want and I'm gonna sign it.
So the surveyor hasn't given a reason why it's somewhere different?
What I think
Yeah.
happened,
Put the mark in there?
Has he been asked?
That's my question.
I think on a lot of this, the property line is one put back in the sidewalk on a lot of these properties, and that might be what, maybe it's not exactly where it was supposed to be. After hearing all what's going on here, I think this ought to be tabled, sent back, and brought back in another month. If she has problems and questions on this.
she wants to
because
be
we wouldn't have
fair.
brought
She
you
wants
here
to
if
be-
had to
she
sign
wants to be fair.
But
She
she
thought
wants
she
to be-
was being fair. She thought she was being
treated fair.
generous.
Yeah.
She thought she was being generous.
And
But
I don't know if there's any fault on the parties, but I think we ought to send it back and have the parties get together and rectify the situation so everybody's happy. That's what it sounds like to me, so.
Yeah.
I mean, there isn't
That's
any
one
hurry.
reason the
Kirby
survey
isn't
mark
moving.
using that survey is the property is one foot back the sidewalk. And that might take quite a bit of time.
I agree. I think we should table it until all parties agree with what's physically there matches. So that's, I think, what we'll, I don't need a motion to table.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, just so
I'll make that motion when we table it.
we have a motion from Chris Squire to table this item.
I'd like to hear Kirby's feelings.
Well, like I say, and like I said, I feel for Sheila and everything going on, you know, at her, what's going on with her and everything and stuff. But what I do know is it was marked for like 4 or 5 days and I didn't actually see, but I assumed everybody looked at it. And then she assumed it was where it was when she signed it, just like mine said. And then once I spoke to her, I said, Sheila, it's fine if you want to go over and look again. And if you want it moved, if it can be moved, you know, the 15 inches, whatever, I'm good with that. And I left it at that. Troy texted me and said, I talked to her and I told her the same thing, that we can move it back if you need to.
Now, he was giving her
And
some,
then, yeah, and then,
some fancy
but I don't know what he
explanation
said
for why
to
it
you.
was there and why it was that way. And
right, but anyway, that's what I was told, so I just thought everything was good and I came in tonight.
Do you see a problem with table on that, or would you prefer?
No, and whatever you guys wanna do, I'm fine with, I mean, I told her
Troy
I
doesn't
didn't want
charge a
to.
lot more money to get.
Well, partially this was stay.
Yeah, he made a mistake.
Yeah,
Okay.
but yeah, of course I'd like to have got it done, but that's, I mean, it is, want her
He needs
to
to,
be.
Kirby needs to figure out where it's gonna be so he can get his sprinklers moved. I mean, she's not pressing him to do it right away, but he needs to.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
If time is of the essence, you can approve it based on the property line being moved back 15 inches and a new plat being presented to council, so that when it comes before council, all of those things can be done. That could save some time, and it can still be done that way, but you need to make sure that the council understands when it comes before them, what the stipulations are on the motion to approve. So I think you have two options.
And I think if they're gonna approve it, when it does come to council, both parties ought to be present so that they can state that they're in agreement.
Yes.
And I think we ought to have the evidence that it was moved.
Oh, that's fine, me, yeah, absolutely.
So right now, we have a motion to table. We could also take another motion to approve with the condition that the line is moved
To
to the agreement of,
To the line would coincide with the point of this sidewalk.
And Sheila would need.
You need to see this over there.
Clarify that it's wise to move.
We can send one over to them so they can see it.
What if we, make a motion with the Sheila's sign the new plat? So there has to be a new plat with move the lines, Sheila has to be comfortable with the new plat, and that way it's not, so there's a little bit, it's clear cut what needs to be done. I'll make that motion that we approve the plat with the line moving so that Sheila's comfortable with the new alignment.
okay. So right now, we have two motions.
Well, the other one wasn't seconded, so.
Well, here's, I'm just
Yeah,
tossing in here, because I'm learning this as we go too, like as I go. You always vote on the
So we need
latest
to
motion first.
vote on the first motion,
No,
or
No,
vote on the
the latest
latest,
motion first. If it doesn't pass, then you go back.
then we go
to the
back, okay.
previous motion. So whatever the most recent motion that has been made, that's the one you vote on first. You can have up to 3 motions.
Okay, I knew we could have multiple, I just couldn't remember how it worked.
How many minutes do we have?
Amendments. You can only have, well, 2, because you have the original motion and then you can have up to 2 amendments to the motion, different, but which would be considered different motions.
So we have the motion from Chris, which is, that it's approved based on a new plat done.
What would you do with that first motion?
If
It's
you
just
don't do
handing out right
anything,
now.
if you vote on the second one, then the first one just goes away automatically.
Yes.
So restate, you have his clear.
So I
Restate.
approve it on the condition that Sheila's willing to sign a new plat.
And both appear coming into council.
With her health and stuff, then what do you think about
She
that?
can cut, she's healthy. She has a handicapped son, she has to take equipment normally, but
That's one reason why I didn't want it. I didn't know if she was wanting on the phone. If she's
Or a
going
letter.
Feels
She
comfortable.
could put something in writing.
Yeah, or a letter.
I like that, or letter.
Okay. Do you have a second on Chris's motion?
I'll second
You have a conflict
it. Okay.
because the relation
I'll.
is how I see it from where I see it.
No, that's not a problem.
You can actually, I'm sorry, this is.
But that's where I just.
But
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. So It's approved as long as it's all the agreement. Understood. Okay. Thanks, Kirby.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go ahead and do Roosevelt City's lot split for the library.
It's real quick, that's actually there's something.
Lot split minor subdivision.
So before we get into that, just real quick, the notice on public hearing, so this is to, for adoption or amendment of the general plan, which is a zone change. To be considered a zone change, must be given at least 10 calendar days, so it's not even working days. So 10 calendar days before the public hearing act must be published in the newspaper of general circulation.
Okay, but it doesn't count the day of the meeting, it has to be
Correct.
the day before, so
But at least
that's,
it's not 14 days, it's 10, so
okay, but look at a calendar, you can't, because the paper only publishes once a week.
no, I understand.
Does it say it has to be published twice?
I'm just clarifying the 14 days versus the 10 days in that.
So that was, so Carol, you're right, that was changed in the ordinance. The old ones required 14 days, and the new ordinance states state code and state code is 10 days.
But for our purposes, it still is the two issues, which makes it,
Was it 10 days or 10 work?
Then,
It's calendar days.
so anyway, not that it makes much of a difference, but I think it's important that we know. So anyway, what we've done here is we've negotiated with the Duchesne County Library to sell them this piece of property. We have agreed to sell it to them for $375,000. It's 1.6 acres approximately, I think, 1.623 acres. But we needed to get that surveyed and separated from the other piece of property that the city owns. So we had Allreds come and survey that, and this is basically what they surveyed. So this is on the west side of the swimming pool where the two baseball fields are, the small baseball fields. And anyway, it's kind of self-explanatory, but there is an easement there that's recorded. Obviously, that is a drain line. Just because there's some low spots in the field there, so that's a drain line. That may need to be moved in the future along.
So they're worried about the swimming pool floating, and so there's actually an under drain on the swimming pool.
Yeah.
And so it drains to the swimming pool.
What we were thinking is that easement in the future may need to change and just follow this diagonal line, so there's a little more space right there. But we'd handle that in the future if need be, and that's just an easement change. But for now, we just wanted to make sure that we had a legal description that we could put into a purchase contract, because even though we verbally agreed for the property, we haven't had a purchase contract, and we can't until we have a legal description. Now that we have a legal description, if that's approved, we'll get the purchase contract, and the sale will be finalized.
So in the purchase agreement, you actually haven't read up the easement in that document?
No, because it'll be recorded on the plat. So it will be, they'll be able to look at the plat, see the easement. But, so there's no need to actually add that to the purchase contract. Because it's basically Ruth Ann would know. It specifies any,
It's gonna be in your title policy.
exactly. So they'll find everything when we go to
And
the
it could be on your deed. I mean,
Correct.
you could reserve that on your deed.
And I think, I don't know, you're right, and I don't know if we want to do that on the deed until we see if it's
Until it
gonna
gets
change.
finished.
Yeah, because it may change, and then at that time we can do final deed and recording. If that changes, but. So it's pretty cut and dry. Hopefully, I don't think there's any other easements or encumbrances on the property. The dotted line on the exterior of the property on the north, south, and west side is a 5-foot easement all the way around, utility easement. They've also agreed to widen the road, and we went and looked at that where it's staked as well. The stakes are well within the road, so even if they widen the road, it still doesn't affect much of the property.
Any other questions?
So this is gonna take out like one baseball field,
Two.
both of them?
Yes. And the plan is, part of the plan is, we're gonna take that money We'll probably leverage it with CIP funds and others, and then, we also have a plan to do a fourplex out at Constitution Park within the walking park. So we'll gain 2 fields out of the deal.
So we've got parcel B, that's the remainder piece.
Yes,
What is that gonna,
that's the swimming pool, that's gonna
that's
stay
the
the
pool,
same,
okay,
yeah.
okay, all right. I just have to get oriented in
And so
my,
we'll still have
Okay.
on, directly north of the swimming pool, there will still be a baseball or softball field there. And it's actually the largest
okay.
one out of the 3. Well, I guess the one up in the corner and that other one are about the same size, I think. But it would be a good field, and we wanted to keep that because the pavilion's there. So people could play softball, baseball.
So they're moving the library up to that west end then.
Correct.
What will they do with the building they've got?
That's our building.
Roosevelt City owns it.
Oh, you own the building now?
We do, and some of the thoughts, I'm gonna tell you what I think would be good. But we don't have anywhere that we have Roosevelt City history, anywhere, museum or anything like that. And I'd love to see something like that in that area, library, swimming pool, history, all of that in one block.
The history needs to be in the old building on the corner.
I agree, so we were gonna do a little of both, but if we're having like art venues and those types of things, then we could hold those in the bigger building and have those in conjunction, but I agree with you. And
It's just, that's an old building and it just says, this is history.
My wife worked with some paramedics, they said that building's pretty dilapidated and stuff.
it is,
I don't know if we could update that other building and move them there and then update the,
they're actually building on, next to the building, villa. That's where they're actually going to build next to the villa, and then the ambulance and those guys will be there. So they'll be out of that building eventually. But, yeah, that's, and there's others that share the same feelings of, museum, doing some history there, and, it could be great.
So do we need to do something to approve this?
We just
We
have.
need a motion to approve the minor subdivision.
one quick, can you zoom into the owner's dedication, note the signatures and stuff like that? On the right. I'm curious Ruth Ann's thoughts. So Dean and I talked before the meetings and I had a couple of comments. So, right here, the owner's dedication. So Ruth Ann might be able to help. Before, it doesn't mention easements in the dedication. So should I make sure, I don't know, so I talked to Ryan already, he said that he would update it. So I don't know if that's been changed. I had 2 comments. Before, there wasn't any dimensions on the easements. We didn't know, they wouldn't be able to restate that, but the new one does have it. But if you look at the one,
This one has, it's 20-foot easement, 10-foot of the center line.
or before they didn't have these, the meets, the one was sent out to planning and zoning in the email, doesn't have meets and bounds on these. So that he's added those to ours. Oh, he added the one that after, so it's on the one that's
Oh.
planned zoning, it's on the original one.
The original.
So they sent out one for comments, and then they sent out another one in the,
Yeah, in the packet.
The second one was the final.
Yeah, the first one was
The
just.
first one was to get your comments.
so could you zoom in, I'm just curious to read that, if it does dedicate the easement in that.
Come up, read this one, might be easier.
Yeah, might be easier.
I don't know that it does.
So Ruth Ann, is that a,
Sometimes, well, and I've had Ryan comment on that too. Sometimes they'll do meets and bounds on the.
And then
Those sort of plans. Is that what you're talking
he's memory requirement, so he did what I asked on this. But then I just said, and scroll down on the owner's dedication. Normally, if your dedication-
It doesn't mention, I don't think it mentions the easement.
Just
So I
your
just
house.
asked them to add easement in there, so dedication.
If you got really good eyes, you'll be able to read that.
So typically that's in the owner's dedication, if there's an easement that's added to the plat, then it's dedicated as part of that dedication. So that was a comment that I had, and I talked to Ryan about it. And I apologize, I thought that was the same one that went out, so I didn't look at it to see if it's been updated in the planning zone. But Ruth Ann, do you think that should be there if we're gonna?
Well,
about? The only thing that'll.
if we're gonna
happen-
change it though, that's gotta be done first.
Yeah, the only thing that'll need to happen in the wording, from my understanding, is when the deeds are created. The deeds that, because we'll both have to sign those.
So if the easement's created as part of the deed, then I'd be okay with it, but it's right now,
I wish he had put it in here because he's just gonna come back and resurvey it. And he could draw a whole new, he could draw a new plat with the new, but I know you want to get on with your purchase contracts.
Well, I think, comment, I actually talked to Jerry.
Yeah.
Jerry said that the original, what was sent out first, what you requested them to do was standard for standard division of properties.
Mhm.
And that.
And that's what he's done. Except he's
Oh,
drawn
what
the
he sent
easement in
first,
here.
And then,
Yeah,
so
he
you
just
talked
drawn
around
the
and said
plat.
we added a few things.
So Jerry didn't feel like we need to put it in there?
Oh, he said on a standard just parcel division, that it was not, that on his original, what he sent out was what is normal, required for a normal, division.
I know that things have changed in the years. Sometimes it would get conveyed with the plat without having to have it separately identified. That makes sense? We record this plat and it's got the picture on it.
Mhm.
I don't know if we want to do that yet. I mean, I don't know if you want to have Jerry actually, I don't know.
Well, you said that the easement may change to give
Yeah, I
them
think it-
more.
Yeah, and that's the thing is when
So it wouldn't
From
make
my
sense to put
understanding-
that on there now.
we're gonna go through a title company, and the title company will work out the easements, because they have to write a deed for each party. Obviously, when they write a deed,
You're gonna
they're
put that in
gonna,
there.
yeah, the easement will be in the deed,
I'm with you.
and then if it changes at the time,
They won't write the deed till it's final.
correct. And so, and even if they did, let's say we went ahead and went forward with this as it is, and then we needed to change the easement in the future, we would still have to go to the title company, have that easement changed, have a new
Yeah, because you
easement.
have to
written.
vacate as is and then add new.
And the good thing is really, if you look at it, well, yeah, that's on their property for the most part. It's really our easement on their piece of property, so as long as we maintain ownership, and then they would have to come to us when that was changed, and it would be recorded as such. But we can do whatever, it's not.
So you're gonna reserve this easement.
Correct.
What does that mean?
It means it'll be on the deed. It means,
Reserving of the grantor of the following described easement.
yeah,
And maybe a note, I haven't seen the plans from this library at all. But supposing this easement area was gonna be in the parking area rather than in the building area.
it most likely will. The only thing is the very corner, the northwest corner of that pipeline may be affected, maybe.
And so maybe as part of their parking area, there may be a basin or something with a grate to take stormwater off the parking area that could be added in this line where it's there on their property.
Yeah, that would be a benefit to them for sure. But the northwest corner is maybe,
Right. So that's why you're saying we may need to follow the property line.
That shouldn't stop you from getting your purchase contract written.
no, not whatsoever. In fact, if that has changed in the future, once the property is purchased, we're gonna work with them on the deed, and so all it comes down to is recording that at that time, the new deed description. So, or the new easement description.
Any other questions? Entertain a motion. Anyone?
I'll make the motion to approve the plat for the,
I'd second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Chris Thompson and a second by Ruth Ann. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
if we make a motion, do we have to say in here, do we?
If we make the motion, do we get to vote?
We want to help against you. No, I didn't say aye, so I was wondering, I just figured since I made the motion that I didn't have to say aye, so I
As
was
long as
wondering.
there's no names, it's unanimous.
All right. Thanks, Mayor. Now let's do our plat approvals for the Baptist Church. Tell us all about it again.
Well, last time we were here, you wanted to see the future ball field, written in there. The lines for the, pavement, where the pavement's gonna be in the parking lot, where the sewer lines are gonna be, and, elevations and proposed spots of the building, we moved it from one spot to another. And we've got the water, we spoke with the city manager and it was closer with a bigger sewer line. So a 6-inch line to do with that stuff.
Okay. Start with the board. Do we have any questions, comments from our board? Chris?
I've thought about this long and hard, and we're trying to follow by our ordinances. And our current ordinance says that we're not the ones that are supposed to approve the plat, or the site plan is supposed to be Dean. And so I don't think we even have the authority to make a motion on it. So,
If Dean wants your consensus, I think that would be
It's
appropriate.
optional, and if you remember my comment was, everything will be coming to zoning for site plan.
so. So we're just, so Dean's looking, so we're not making a motion on to approve it, we're making, saying that we're okay with it, is that what we're talking about now then, or?
I think Dean's deferring to us back.
You looked at it and critiqued it before, we need to finish it. Most time, if it's anything major, it's gonna come to here. Reason being is because it was an optional item. And I think that's a problem. People can say, well, you're discriminating. He didn't have to go, but I did. So either everybody comes in for site approval or nobody comes in for site approval.
Well, I think we need to change the ordinance, because I think it's more than just, should be more than just one person beside the side. The current ordinance reads that you're the one that's supposed to approve it.
But he's saying that the standard has
And I
been
don't
that
think it
everybody's
says
counted,
shall.
so even though it says that he can do it, he's just making sure that until we do change it, that it's, that we're deferring here still.
And one reason the final draft didn't get it sent out
Just the way
until
the
last night, it came back once and they hadn't clearly shown the asphalt and a few other things that was requested. So I sent it back and marked out with them because we had actually sent the zoning ordinance that we want everything to conform with this. And Mark had to go get with them, and so it got sent to me yesterday afternoon. It was a busy day, so I didn't even get it till very last thing.
But
So I
you're
sent it
comfortable
out.
with it now?
But we tried to get the asphalt parking areas as we requested, show all the utilities. You can see the two future buildings here. One reason they're coming in, Mark has been in and talked to the city about the sidewalk. At the moment, there's no engineering data, but they're committed to what time it's done, either they'll install it or it'll be part of the road. So they've done their best to comply with what was requested. And
There's only one new building, just one proposed building, right?
Well, yes, see at the moment, see the
Right.
building in the center?
Right.
That's the proposed.
Okay.
The two
Right,
kind of
existing.
hashed areas on each side are proposed future buildings.
Oh,
And that, now there's the existing home on site.
right.
At some time, the double wide will be gone, and this existing home is on a septic tank at this time. And so they're bringing in a 6 so they can tie this existing home into that line to get it off the septic. Right there, and they talked to the city, they'd be charged 2 connection fees, but we'd just have one line coming off the road.
So. Trying to think what I was thinking of. So the double wide is the
double wide is the chapel at the moment.
okay.
The proposal, the reason they're doing this is to eventually so they have handicap bathrooms and stuff like that, and phase that one out. And then as time and money, then they have some proposed addition to the building that they're building.
Okay. And I know we remind Remind me what we discussed on occupancy, proposed occupancy of the new building. What was that?
It was 50.
It was what?
50.
And then we were just wanted to make sure we had paved parking spots to match the occupancy.
And that would be.
And it looks like they have.
And if you
How many
scroll,
do you need?
and if you scroll down, they have parking here, but they have plenty of area. If you see where it comes in here on the right, they have plenty of area to get parking on the side. I mean, there's plenty of asphalt there for parking. They just did the number there, and they will have the required amount. I think we looked at it as what, 1 per 3.5. So it came out around,
It seemed like 20 something, I thought, but.
somewhere it was 8.
Because I thought we discussed around 90 was occupancy, but if it's 50, I guess it's lower.
Well, he said 50 at the most.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know just what
Because
it's
you won't have-
its own seats.
You don't have linear pews to measure to know that way and all that, so.
Right. But they have plenty of ground, but they are looking at asphalting this portion here, so there's plenty of room to put more parking stalls in here.
And then another concern I heard with, about on the application to use 2 existing houses for primary pasture employees, but you'll still have just 1 home, right? 'Cause you
Right, the brick home that's there is the pastor's residence, and the other is the existing chapel.
So what will be done with that chapel?
Eventually it'll be phased out, but timeline you'll have to ask for.
Will it eventually be turned into a residence or will it?
No, it will be just, we're eventually going to haul it out of there. Just get rid of it.
It'll be removed, is what you're saying?
Excuse me?
It'll be removed.
Removed, yeah, to manufactured home.
Okay, because concern was the size.
If you read in the description, it almost acts like they're gonna treat it as a secondary residence.
Yeah,
For the pastures, it says.
that's what I read, so I thought we were gonna have 2 there, but then those are accessory uses, and those accessory uses become larger than the primary use. And we can't do that, and so that's why that was a concern. But if you're gonna, and so the application would be, we're not making 2 homes, we're gonna remain with just 1 home.
1 home, 1 chapel, and the other one will be phased out.
Okay.
I really like how you did the trees all the way around. And I guess since we've got the city here, what's the city's thought about helping out with the asphalt on the sidewalk on that north side?
I wouldn't be able to
That's to be determined in the future on what they do with 800 South. They have committed, as far as asphalt on the south side, that's gonna be a road. But the sidewalk would be their responsibility unless it is something as part of a continuation of the 800 South. It just depends on what comes, but they're committed to put in the sidewalk, curb and sidewalk as required.
I thought it was all the improvements on the, I thought it was asphalt and sidewalk would be the requirement.
So we're going to, I think it would be this sidewalk.
I can't, but sidewalk.
Are you talking the
and
east
road's
side?
there.
Is that what we're talking? The east
I think
side?
Chris is talking 800 South there.
Right here.
North side?
It's north side.
Yeah, we're not,
It's curb, gutter, and sidewalk.
the city's not doing anything on 800 South. We are going to redo State Street next year.
So
And so,
In the subdivision ordinance, there's actually a section that talks about when improvements are made. The requirement is, and I can look for this ordinance, but I believe the ordinance said that whenever a site plan like this goes in, the sidewalk, all the improvements need to be made to the road, and I think it includes the asphalt and the sidewalk.
but there's already asphalt on 8.
But they'll put the sidewalk in, and there's a little strip that there's no asphalt,
Oh.
and so the asphalt would need to be.
Well, one of the things that we can look at too, where we are going to do State Street next year, is maybe even if they prepped the asphalt on the north side, that strip, and got it ready for asphalt, I'm sure it wouldn't take much to just stick it in there a foot wide or whatever. And then
The big
we could
thing
put something out on State Street too, I'm sure, where we're already going to be there with crews, putting in the asphalt sidewalk, curb, gutter, all that.
And on State Street, actually, the curb gutter and sidewalk is already in on State Street.
Is it on that already?
It's 800
Right now?
It's on the property, that's part of that, there's a joint. here.
Oh, because when you clear the eight south.
Yeah, because it ends at 8.
That's a good idea when the city does, when they do that sounding that they've got on the other part, they could do this little strip on 800 South.
And I think as long, maybe they could prep it and we could stick it in, but I think we can work together on that.
The biggest thing is, nothing can be done until the engineering is done on the road. Because you can't set grade until the engineering is completed.
That's the other thing maybe we need to look at then before we start the project next year is look at the grade on that road and see what the height will be.
Because Mark came in and talked with Kirby and Ryan and that. Like I say, they're committed to do their share at what time it's available, the engineering is there to do it.
I would personally say, well, then I'll get with Kirby and Ryan and, because that project is coming. And we'll get the grade and everything else, what the sidewalk will need to be at, identified, so that you can go ahead and pour the sidewalk on that north side. And then we can work out the details as far as pouring that little strip of asphalt when we complete that road.
I think that's great if the city, you want to do that. Or keep looking at it, not, yeah, I think it'd be good for them. to look at
It's gonna save a ton of costs if we just work together on that from mobilization and everything else. And so I think that ought to be.
I really like how you've done the trees all the way around and the landscape. You just do plan on doing gravel down underneath the trees or?
Yeah.
I think that'll make a huge difference on that corner. But I think where the side plant, where the existing building is, what's the plans for the landscaping there?
I have another meeting, I'm gonna have to excuse myself.
And there's another meeting scheduled for this room in 10 minutes.
7 o'clock.
Yeah.
Oh, is it going to be here? Yeah. Okay.
So I think one thing, as for around the building at the
This is your
time, it's
hand.
gonna be, it's gonna be raised with a lot of backfill against it, so it's gonna be grass and whatever trees, but they're probably not gonna do a lot of landscaping on the future building parts. They'll have to tear it back out. Did you say that, Mark?
I didn't say that, yes. Sorry, I didn't hear that, Dean.
I says one thing, at the current time, this building, to get the, top of the foundation above the curb, the foundation is pretty much gonna be at grade, and they're gonna be doing a lot of backfill around the building. So at the time, I think the present plan is they're gonna do grass, but they're not gonna do a lot of trees or anything in the future building sites right there, correct? Because if you notice, they have future buildings planned on both sides. So they would do grass and whatever frost protection they would need, and then it would be removed to do the future buildings.
So how will the detention be sized?
The parking lot detention on the water,
Yeah,
and that they have plenty of ground right here.
I agree. I just wonder how big they're gonna make it, how big. My concern is that property drains into the next property. And so with adding the impervious surface, we're gonna create a lot more flow. So, and then the flow would go on another property. So I think we need to be able to contain a 100-year storm on that property. Typically, you can allow some of the flow go off of it, but I think it'd be best to keep all the flow, simply is that all the great
Storm
water.
drain right there.
What's that?
We have a storm drain right there.
There is storm right now. So
Is
probably
it
what
sized
Chris is
adequately
saying,
to-
maybe we would, and this would go back to their engineering outfit, create some detention on the south side of the pavement, but we would try to get it so it could retain but overflow into the storm drain, kind of like Burger King does. So we could request that their engineering firm look at this and create something.
You could actually even,
Is
like,
that agree?
I like that, Dean. So like one of these catch basins, like this catch basin right here, if you can cut out the sidewalk and then you can build your detention basin here and then stub in. You'd almost have to put a new manhole box right here if you're gonna do it down here.
Well, that they don't want to develop it in the property. Their future there is grass and ball fields on the south end of the property.
So I guess just my concern is I don't want additional flows going on other property. as part of this project. I don't want the additional flows created by the impervious surface to affect other property owners. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, so is part of it. I mean, they can get with Gable and he can design some detention area there. I mean,
Gable
you're
does
gonna have
good
to
job.
get some grades and that, to see if they can take the overflow into the storm drain. You know, in one of those basins.
So when would the occupancy permit be given for this property?
Well, I won't guarantee the sidewalk will be done until the engineering is done.
The rest of the side and
Talk about
the
that.
asphalt will be completed before the occupancy permit?
Yeah, everything will be done. It'll be done. And we're, gonna have an agreement that if that gets done when you guys are, when it's ready. Engineering's ready.
I appreciate you going out of your way and making this work. I think it says a lot about you guys to want to do things the right
Yeah, we
way.
wanna do it right.
I appreciate that.
Do we have any other questions on this one? The power pole in the middle of the parking lot
Gonna go.
is gonna go.
Gotta go.
It just shows it there, so.
Gotta go.
Mark said they're gonna do the best to bring it in underground.
Yeah, we're gonna come right underground across there, so.
So that would change, okay. Anything else? So what kind of motion do we need on this? Do you just approve with
Suggestions.
suggestions we've discussed?
I'll make a motion that we recommend that you approve the site plan.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second
A motion by Chris Thompson that Dean approves the site plan and a second by Ren. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. You ready?
So our next item,
Hey, that Tim guy called me too.
Oh, good.
next item real quick, is our city code 166130 regarding easement standards.
So there's two places that go, or do you mind, or
Yeah, go ahead. It's you that's, I didn't know who was doing that.
we don't have much time. There's two places in the code where it addresses PUEs on subdivisions. And last time when we had that subdivision, they didn't have any PUEs along the front.
What is that, Chris?
Public utility easement. So old school was that you ran all the PUEs along the back of the lot. So everybody would put the power poles in the back of the lot, there's sewers running in the back of the lot. And so our current code is based on that, where it requires the PUE in the back and then requires them on the side, and then it says it's optional to have them in the front. What I would like to see, and I apologize, I'm just doing this because of time. My recommendation is I'd like to see if staff could come with a change, change those two codes. So there's the one in the standards, and then there's the one, the code in subdivisions. I feel, I talked to Jerry already about it, because I have a lot, he thinks that they don't really use them anymore. We talked about how, I like them in the front, so we did the temple, and the temple ran out of right of way, and they had to purchase right of way from the adjacent property owner to be able to put power to the property on 50 East. The power company had to purchase additional right of way. On State Street, the power company had to purchase additional right of way. So I feel like that now it's more important to have the PUE in front. So I would make the recommendation that we require a 10-foot PUE along all the fronts of all the subdivisions and lots that come in, so that when we are doing improvements on a street, there's room to put the power, to put the strata lines. So,
Would that do away with the
And I
rear lot
scrolled it up
requirement?
here. I scrolled it up here too, because they're in two places. It's in the ordinances, and it's also in the construction standards. And if you read the construction standards, it says 10 feet on all lot lines.
So there's two places this is found.
Right.
So there's this
The other one
location and
says
then you have the other location. And so that's why when this came up in the last meeting, it says there's a conflict. So I don't know which one we support.
Well, to back up, if you had looked at Broad Banks when they sent that, which was interesting, they did the 15 on all the side yards and the rears, so we had 7.5 feet on each lot. But the front on theirs was all 10 feet, and that was probably because you were involved. So I think that would be a good way to approach this if we're gonna do an ordinance to change. I don't know what you think, but
Yeah,
I really liked what they sent.
do you think they're necessary on the back and on the sides?
No, 90% of the time, they're not used.
So I would just make a motion, or the time, you guys, does anyone else want? I'll make a motion that we change this one and the one in the subdivision ordinance to only require a 10-foot PUE along the front of the lots. Does that sound fair to you?
Yes.
And so to do that, we'd have to have our public hearing and everything to change the ordinance.
Right, what we'd want to do, I
So
think,
we'd have
send
to
it
draft
to
it
the
up first.
attorney to draft the ordinance and then have a hearing on it.
Do we need a motion to send it to him, or do we just do that?
Well, we probably want to make a motion.
Yeah, it's good to do motions.
Yeah. So it's recorded.
But I think it should go to Grant, have him draft it, and then have the public hearing.
So,
You or Dean,
well, the
with Chris's suggestions, would then approach the attorney and tell him what you would
question,
like.
Chris.
Okay.
So are these easements the way they are now? I'm looking at this from a title searcher standpoint. Where will I go in the public records to find that that's what they are?
Be in the subdivision plat, kind of like how they use it.
Okay, so the new change that you're wanting, we have to put somewhere.
So so the requirement in our code, so we say in our code, that whenever someone brings a subdivision or a lot split,
We have to, it
They
has
would
to
show-
confirm, okay.
that they would show that PUE. And I'm curious about if and I'll talk to Jerry. I talked to Ryan, and Ryan at the time felt like we ought to add easements in the owner dedication. But I've always understood that if there's new easements added to the drawing, in owner dedication, you need to show that that's.
And some of them did it in Broad Banks that did, and I thought that was great. They called it out. But actually, they had a drawing that applied to all the lots rather than the easements on every lot. But I agree, but it was also in the dedication of the PUDs, and I think that's a great way to go.
I'd like to see, I'll talk to Jerry about it, but I'd like to see it in the dedication. Because I think that if we're gonna dedicate easements and PUEs on a plat, we ought to have it in the dedication.
But actually on this small drawing too, it's stated right then that all lots, these are the easements. In there in that little bit. It's too bad I don't have that. I've actually got it over in my room. I could go grab it. And maybe next meeting, I can bring that in and show you, but I like the way it was done because it's stated and it was clear.
We're not attempting to change existing subdivisions or existing, but we're looking forward.
Future.
Correct. That's the only thing we want to do is go forward. We can't back up on existing.
Can't
what's
back up,
required.
Okay, Chris, restate your motion, because I forgot.
All Matt, make a motion with Steve and staff, prepare a code change and general
Change to
specifications, change the specifications and the code requiring 10-foot PUEs along the front of the lot.
Do you have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Cody, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, real quick on some other business. Chris and I did a conference call with Mike Hyde, who's over planning and zoning with the county. And he sent us some things that they do, what their staff prepares. So their board is well informed, and then some other things. Since we're out of time, they're supposed to have a meeting here right now, so.
It's a Zoom meeting.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. You're on it.
Can we get on it here?
Okay.
Can we get on it here? I didn't know, I didn't.
They didn't tell me it was a Zoom, they didn't tell me it was a Zoom meeting, and I didn't advertise it as that.
They're breaking the
I thought it was
law.
here.
Oops.
Okay.
Oh, well.
Anyway, what I'll do is I will forward everybody, the email I got from Mike Hyde that has examples of what they use, what information they give to their, board members prior to
I'll
meetings.
just go home and watch it.
And also, what we need to be
I
doing.
thought it was here, so I thought I'd just
It was very eye-opening.
That'd be good to know if we know what we're doing.
Eye-opening to see what,
And it's not.
where we've lacked.
I'm just curious.
Tradition is
on the Zoom.
what we've kind of run on and we've tried to learn as we go and,
I don't think so.
I think we
based
could-
on what's going on, but,
be better informed as board members and also help the public go through the processes if we standardize our processes a little better, as far as kind of match what the county does. He did suggest, and it's something we'd have to bring up to council and everything, possibly contract with somebody to have a part-time planner, a contract planner to help prepare, the documentation and things like that, do more research, because I know Dean's busy with building inspections and stuff, and not, you do great as you are, but it's not your expertise, like it's not our
I
expertise.
don't claim to be a planner. Except you are now.
And so,
Okay, I just did what I was told.
and so that's where I think we could help, but we'd have to approach council on that, about that, but it's just eye-opening to see how well we could be better informed prior to our meetings.
Mike is good at what he does.
He is.
And he's also full-time,
Yeah,
takes a lot of time to do what he does.
yes, it
And he
does.
has a secretary.
And he has a
And
second,
that's Coralie, yeah.
yep, so it takes a lot of time to do it the right way.
Yep.
One thing he did, and we ought to talk about too, in the meetings, is that he allows the person to speak, all those against it, and there's an order to it, because like right now, and I'm probably the biggest one to blame, is we're kind of scattered all over the place. There's an order of how stuff should happen, and I think it would be good to start following that, so I think it'll go by quicker if we start following those.
Yeah, so,
Robert's Rules of Order.
yeah, and I think Roosevelt City has not officially followed Robert's Rules of Orders. The county does, but the city, I don't think we do.
They hadn't wanted to. so
Yeah.
They were aware.
I know there's a way to make a motion, and everybody second it, and I read,
And
years
so,
ago, I read that.
and so we have,
I've read them, and it's,
Yeah, we used to do it in club work and business professionals, they're like, oh, yeah.
parliamentary procedure.
That's where I learned God before country. You always say the club call after a prayer before you say the pledge of allegiance.
So anyway, I'll forward this information, and I, for one, I think I need to go to one of the county planning and zoning meetings
That'd be cool.
to learn and to see it in person. They don't, video theirs, but they do audio recordings.
Would they invite us?
They're gonna start.
Are they? Okay. And that would be great, so we could watch them and learn procedure, just to get us better informed. So on that note, anyone have any other business?
I move we adjourn.
We have a.
Second.
And a second
All in
to adjourn. All in favor? Aye.
Oh,